Good morning and happy Thursday, everyone. It's Jonathan Mallard and Ryan Faloona here with another session of how to trade using Benzinga Pro. And today we're talking about SEC filings. So there's a whole lot that we could dive into here, both on the platform and just in general. But before we get into all of this, Ryan, what in the world is an SEC filing for those who don't know?
Great question, Jonathan. Happy Thursday, and thanks for joining us today. SEC filings are required documents that companies file with the SEC that are made public at the same time. Traditionally, you can access these files by going to sec.gov and then using the Edgar database in order to look up these different filings. What's so cool about this is that you can actually discern some information about a company, or maybe where that company is going or what it's going to do in the future, depending on how up to speed you are with going through the different SEC filings. Now, this is not one of my favorite things to do, and I probably am not alone in that, just because we are sorting through a whole bunch of these very wordy documents that have a whole bunch of legalese. It's not the most fun activity. However, a lot of very useful information can be gained by doing this. So what's cool is that in addition to going to the SEC website and actually looking up the forms yourself, we actually have an SEC feed built directly into Benzinga Pro. And one of the reasons that I like that so much is because I actually don't have to go to a different website. I can do all of the research right here within Benzinga Pro, depending on the form that you're looking for. And speaking of the form that you're looking for, what I personally use the SEC feed for the most is looking up insider trades. I want to look up those Form 4s. Those are forms that need to be filed with the SEC anytime some type of C-suite executive buys shares or sells shares of the company that they work for. Oftentimes, I use this information to think that, well, the people that are working at the company probably know more about it than I do and have an inside track. So if they're buying shares, they probably think that the company is going to do well in the near future, or just in the future in general. There are a bunch of other forms that you can actually use. And in fact, we have what I've pulled up here on the screen is 4 different news feeds with only the SEC source selected, and then a keyword filter of the form name. So you'll see here on the screen, you've got the SC13G, which is for a passive stake, the SC13D, which is for an active stake. We have the form 13F and the form 10 here on the bottom. So you can this is just a way of actually just, figuring out what institutions are in what stocks, or being able to look up those forms themselves. You can do this with pretty much any form that is filed with the SEC.
And what I love about the newsfeed here is you can click into any one of these headlines or article titles, whatever you want to call it. You can read it right there, but also notice those buttons in the upper right corner of the SEC filing where you can copy and paste it into another document. You could email it to yourself or just pop it out into a larger screen so it's easier to digest all of that data. So yeah, just right like that. And so the most common items that I talk to people about when we're discussing SEC filings are looking for insider trades with those Form 4s. So maybe we should just pull some of those up, Ryan.
Good idea. You're basically what I had set up here was I was trying to showcase as many as possible. So we actually have a workspace for institutional ownership, and those are the 4 news feeds filtered by the 4 forms that I just showed you. That's what I was kind of looking at here. Now, one of the other things that I do is I actually keep a feed open, or excuse me, keep a workspace that has just the newsfeed tool in it. And then in sources, I have just press releases and just SEC selected. And the reason that I've set it up like this is to do exactly what you were just touching on. Hey, let's go take a look at some of those Form 4s. So because I have this feed ready, now what I'm ready to do is actually filter this feed by the form that you just mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Form 4, no space, press enter, and now I'm going to get a list of any of those Form 4s. Now, I also had the press release source selected. This could be if a company is releasing any information about that particular form or releasing that form via press release, whatever the case is, I just want to make sure that I have it. The important thing to note here is that you actually have the SEC feed selected. And you'll notice if you look on the right side of all of these postings, it will list the source in which this is coming through. So Jonathan, here is exactly what you had just asked. I've gone ahead and filtered this news feed by a Form 4.
Awesome. And if you click into these, you can actually see whether the company leader or member of the board of directors is buying or selling the shares, right? So under, I think it's section 4 there, it says acquired or disposed of. So you can see here it's talking about, I think, 460 shares of the stock, and it says A for acquired. So this isn't necessarily a huge transaction, but that's nice to know that you can look right there into the SEC filing and see what's going on.
Right, and then it'll also tell you what the ownership level is following that transaction. So if you're trying to keep track of that, there's a field here for you for that. One of the things that I like the most about viewing this content through Benzinga Pro is having some of the important numbers pulled out and then pasted in the headlines. Just by looking at my screen here, I can very quickly pick up the ticker of the stock and then what the average price is, and then whether, you know, the amount and whether it was buy or sold or what have you. So I actually prefer looking at these forms in Benzinga Pro for 2 reasons. Number one, I'm accustomed to the way that the platform looks. It's easy on the eye. And then 2, I'm already here doing research anyway. Why do I necessarily want to go somewhere else? I might as well just do it right here in Benzinga Pro.
And something I'm looking at here is I'm noticing for PRGX, it says Drapkin Matthew, director, sold back over 2 million shares at an average price of $7.44. So we're talking about larger transactions. You know, these might be the types of transactions that would make a bigger difference. Also, you know, we're looking at more of the raw data here. If you want something that our news desk has already gone through and kind of delivering to you on a silver platter, then you can actually use the insider trades category filter that is derived from these SEC filings. So in this case, we would have to open up a new news feed with a BZ wire source, and then we can click on the categories filter, go down to the news category, and within the news category, there's a whole bunch of different subcategories. One of those is insider trades. So we just check that box and then click done in the bottom right corner. And so you can see it's definitely much, much less information. And that's because these are only items that really stuck out to our news desk. And they're saying, hey, you probably want to pay attention to this. So that's a nice addition to the raw SEC filings.
Yeah, and this is actually very helpful because, like you had mentioned, this is the news desk actually going through it, giving you some of that information, and then giving you some sentiment based on what they think that form actually means for the company. So the reason that I did it like this, Jonathan, was I actually like this layout too, right? So I can still research using the SEC newsfeed that I've set up, but I can also now see in real time anytime a new insider trade is posted through the BZ wire source. One more thing that I forgot to mention before we move on to the SEC calendar that I know you wanted to talk about. One of the other things that you can do is, although we filtered this news feed by a keyword, in this case form 4, so that we're only seeing those specific forms, you can also filter this by a ticker. And remember, that's going to work on the AND operator. So if I go ahead and I enter in Apple here, what I'm getting is only results that are for Apple that also contain the form 4 keyword. So effectively what I'm doing is now I'm looking up insider trade form 4s from the SEC for just Apple. And I can, and as Jonathan mentioned, you know, you can click in and actually view any one of these forms. But this is great. This is very easy. If you know a specific stock or stocks that you're trying to look up, whether it be an insider trade or a 13D or a 13G or a 10F or whatever the form 10, whatever the form that you're looking for, you can actually filter this newsfeed by that form and by a specific ticker in order to kind of narrow that down. You don't necessarily have to go through all of them. And it's also worth noting that you can enter more than one ticker, right? So if you put in multiple tickers, it's going to show you all of those tickers that also have the form 4 in them. Then you can easily go ahead and remove those tickers simply by using your arrow keys and your delete key in order to remove it from the search bar. Now, Jonathan, did you want to talk briefly about the SEC calendar?
Yeah, let's hop over to the calendar tool. And for those of you who don't know, the calendar tool actually consists of 13 different calendars. So you got earnings, analyst ratings, conference calls, etc. But one of those is SEC filings. And what I like about this is you can filter by all of these different columns. And then you can also very quickly check the boxes under the filters items on the right-hand side to choose which forms you want. So you just go to form type, and then you can just scroll down and say, all right, I want the annual reports, the quarterly reports, or maybe I'm just looking for offerings or those form 4s. So you can see there's quite a few different types of filings. I don't even know all of the different types of filings, to be honest, but I know, like, for example, a lot of people who trade penny stocks are looking for I'm sure many of you have heard of Humble Trader. We've worked with her in the past, and she is looking for penny stocks that are going to need to raise cash soon. So maybe they're doing a secondary offering or a reverse split or something. So she uses our SEC calendar a lot to do that type of research.
Absolutely. And the thing about the calendar, obviously, this is much like any calendar that we have. It's just another way of viewing the same data that you see in the newsfeed. So the calendar works similarly to the newsfeed, meaning you can also filter this calendar by tickers if you want. And in some cases, if you've selected more than just one form, you'll see the other forms that you've actually selected here. And then you can also go directly into the form itself. So the calendar, it can be very helpful depending on what it is that you're looking for. I really like the calendars. I really like the calendars just because it seems to be the same data. It's just easier to find in some cases, easier to see, and then easier to keep track of.
Yeah, and for either the newsfeed or the calendar tool, you could always filter by the watch list as well. So let's say you built a watch list that you're already tracking. Well, that way you would get that instant notification on your newsfeed, or you could just check the table on the calendar side.
Yep. And that's exactly what I did here, right? I went ahead and selected my main watch list, and now it's showing me all of the different tickers on that watch list with the accompanying forms. And again, you can sort this by any of these. So if there's a particular date that you're looking for or a particular form, you can easily find it here in Benzinga Pro without actually having to leave.
Awesome. And you can start a free trial at pro.benzinga.com. There's no credit card required. We're not going to automatically charge you, but free access for 14 days. And you get to talk to me and Ryan and our team. So what more could you want, right? But we're here for you, and hopefully it's helpful.
Guys, can I play this fancy commercial we made?
Let's do it.
I hope so.
We made a fancy commercial. When I say we, I mean Enver.
Did you make it, Spence?
Oh, hell no. Hell no, I didn't make it. Hell no. Enver, our all-star editor, made this
I love it.
Commercial. I told you.
I should just have a playlist of all the video background music that Benzinga plays on our YouTube, like the countdown. I want to wake up to that countdown music every day.
You don't have that already? I mean, I work out to that music, Jonathan. What's the matter with you?
Switch.
I'm running behind on the times, Ryan.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to do that.
All right. Ryan Faloona and Jonathan Mallard from the Benzinga Pro, customer success team? I don't really know what's
Well,
I guess that-
Mallard runs the entire onboarding team. I work on the success team. Mallard runs the onboarding team.
All right, guys.
But if Spence, if you don't mind,
no.
If you don't mind, I'd also like to plug the happy hour show. So from 4 to 5, we do happy hour where we talk about stocks, different trading ideas. Sometimes we dig into fundamentals, things like this. So be sure to check that out. 4 to 5 Eastern, Monday through Thursday.
Awesome. I don't even know if Spencer's still alive.
Oh, I'm still here. All
right, awesome.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it as always. All right, it is 10:45, 10:46. I want to bring on every day. I like bring on a different member of the Benzinga Pro news desk, and have them just talk about what's on their radar. What are they watching? What headlines? What stocks? Today, I'm going to bring on Bill Haddad. It is his first appearance. First, I'm going to capitalize his name, so it's a little bit more professional, Bill. I'm gonna bring him on now. His first ever appearance on Benzinga streaming on our YouTube channel. Bill, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Oh, you put the glasses on and everything.
I kind of have to see. And I'm like,
Bill is the fastest walker on the Benzinga news team. That is a fact. The guy is a professional speed walker. But enough about Bill. Let's talk about the stocks. Bill, we are I guess. What's the good news here? The good news is that we just turned green, right? In the overall market, we are up today somehow.
Yeah, we just kind of turned green after like a big spike. It's kind of just been more of the same. Like what we've seen the past week is like a really heavy sell-off in all the tech names because of those treasury yields kind of rebounding, and that's caused a lot of and that's kind of dragged the whole market down. It'll be interesting to see how many people will like actually buy the dip after saying they would do the whole.
It seems like they're buying the dip here. I mean, I'm just looking at SPY. SPY's at 382, and how low did we get? We got to like 378 or something, right? So it seems like they're starting to buy the dip a little bit.
Yeah. We also had some jobless claims numbers earlier, which were a little bit better than expected.
Yeah.
But realistically, like I don't even know how much the market has been caring about econ data recently. So, yeah.
Yeah, and to McCollum Shenanigans in the chat, yeah, I mean, of course, it depends on what you own, right? If you own an ARK fund, like, I mean, I do, right? I own the ARKW, and I'm getting smacked around today, right? ARKW is down. All the Cathy Wood stocks are down. All these high-flying tech names are down. Right. It obviously depends on what you own. But by and large, the broad-based indexes, I mean, the Nasdaq has come back, the S&P has come back, and the Russell is trying to get into the green. Bitcoin's still in the red, though, and oil is continuing to go higher. So, Bill, what individual news? What's on your radar today? What are you watching?
So I think the most interesting thing is, obviously been the rebound after we've had that pretty heavy tech sell-off over the past week.
Yeah.
Also, Marvell is down about 7% right now.
Bring up that chart. This is a 1 minute chart. Do they have earnings or something? They had earnings, right?
So last night yesterday afternoon actually, they reported their Q4 earnings, and their earnings were a bit in line. Their guidance was pretty weak, and it looks like that's dragging down some of the other semi names too. Especially with like a lot of these tech companies, really software, but even with the semiconductors, if their guidance doesn't like blow it out of the water, that can lead to like some heavy selling just because.
Give me some names.
So pulling up some of their peers, I'm seeing Broadcom is down, TSM is down a little bit, Micron down also, and some of these have also recovered with the overall market over the past like 30 minutes or so, but the semiconductors are still pretty red across the board. And the other thing about the semiconductors is we've had the news recently about the chip shortage.
Yeah.
That actually helped move a lot of them higher, but it looks like they're coming down with the rest of tech as well.
I just want to pull up my watch list here. This is just a very basic watch list I have in Benzinga Pro. This is just the every sector, every S&P sector ETF, SPY, all the major indexes, and the top 10 largest stocks and Bitcoin and oil. And you can just see here what's in the green and what's in the red. And you're seeing a lot of, like, look at those ARK funds, right? Look at Bitcoin or GBTC equivalent right at the bottom. Look what's in the green today, right? USO. Facebook, this is interesting. Bill, let's look at Facebook here, because Facebook is up today. And I think that's because of the news out of Google, that Google is going to stop following you around the internet. They're going to stop selling ads that are targeted based on your search history on other sites. And we know that Facebook is like the other big player in the digital advertising market. Like those two companies combined have like a 90% market share. So I think Facebook is up because Google is saying, hey, we're going to like not let people target you as much. And maybe the thinking on Wall Street is more money is going to shift away from being spent on Google to being spent on Facebook. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that is a really good point, because if you remember back in 2018 when we had all the Cambridge Analytica stuff and Zuckerberg testifying, there was a lot of news going around about like, sort of like privacy plays, I guess, stocks that were considered, more, I guess, diligent about user privacy than Facebook. And that's something that, I think the market kind of forgot about. But I think definitely an interesting thought there.
Well, we had a pandemic, so it kind of got in the way of things a little bit. But I guess you could say Google is more of a privacy play. I mean, all these companies they're sort of in the thick of the fire in terms of regulatory efforts. There are lawsuits from the FTC and the SEC and the DOJ with all these companies. Google is clearly trying to like step back and institute some sort of privacy settings. Facebook is not about that life. Facebook is like, nope, we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
I also think now that we have a Democratic Senate and we're Democratic across the board, I think it'll be interesting to see how much easier it'll be to pass some of these regulations and privacy measures that they've been talking about for years now. But really, since 2018 is when I think the interest, really spiked in that. And so that should be interesting to see if there's any sort of, regulatory measures that could be coming against the big tech companies and social media. Definitely something to look out for.
Bill, what is the overall mood, that you're seeing out there, either just on the desk or with the Benzinga Pro users that you're chatting with, or just sentiment that you're seeing, online? What is the general feeling, if you can give one, about where we're at right now in the market? Because we are in the green.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about the market is we still have, even though we've been really volatile the past couple of weeks with all the tech sell-off, we still have some pretty good catalysts coming up. COVID cases, the rate of new COVID cases is really dropping because we have the vaccine rolling out, which is actually quicker than we expected, because when we first started rolling out the vaccine, it was kind of behind schedule. But vaccinations are coming along. We could have some more stimulus measures on the way. We also have the reopening to look forward to. And, the reopening of the economy, that's not just going to boost all the stay-at-home plays, but that's also going to help everything. You're going to have, recovery in the unemployment rate. So there are a lot of good catalysts still coming up. And I think the overall mood is still positive. But a lot of traders are going to get spooked when they see stuff like this, and the concerns over the yields rising has definitely hurt a lot of growth stocks. Even though the Fed has said, I think 2022 or 23 is when they'll think about raising rates again. But that's like also another thing we have.
Are you going to be watching Mr. Powell at noon today?
Yeah. Yep. That'll be another thing to look out for.
I'm sure he'll step in and try to say something.
Yeah. Looks like he can.
I just brought up this chart of the SPY, and I zoomed out a lot, just so people can get some perspective here. Because, I mean, we've had a very volatile few days, but we're like 3% off the all-time high, right? The all-time high was what, like a month ago, and we're 3% off that level, guys. So, like, I always try to keep that in perspective, right? Like, it might seem like, oh man, God, my ARK funds are getting smashed around. I'm getting smacked around in my SPACs, and that may be true, but overall, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't even the first time we've had kind of a big dip in tech like this, over the past year. And yeah, like I said, it's stuff like this definitely spooks the market, but keeping in mind all the other market catalysts we have coming up, it'll help put things into perspective.
So you're short-term bullish, long-term bullish. Did I get that right?
Short-term uncertain, long-term bullish. Yeah, at least mid to near, like
Yeah.
mid to long-term bullish over the next couple of years. But then when the Fed does come back in and start raising rates again, which is going to be inevitable at some point,
Well,
that I think is a little more uncertain.
inevitable in theory.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, they kept rates near zero for what, like 7 years, 8 years. They started raising in 2015, and all that progress got wiped out last year. But all right, something to keep in mind here. I am watching the SPY and the Russell like a hawk, and the Nasdaq too, like a hawk today. Bill, I'm sure you are. You've got a lot going on. I'll let you go. Bill Haddad is on the Benzinga news desk. He's one of the newsdeskers who is responsible for posting headlines and engaging with our users. If you ask a question in a YouTube chat during one of our shows, we might answer it, but we might not. If you ask a question to the Benzinga newsdeskers in Benzinga Pro, they are obligated to answer your question, or at the very least, if they don't have an answer, find an answer, or just tell you they don't know, I guess. But you get Bill's undivided attention when you do that. So that's what I wanted to say. Bill Haddad, thank you very much for the time. I know you have a lot going on today, so we'll let you go, but this was fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we've got SPAX Attack on in a couple of minutes. I know y'all really, really want to hear how Chris and Mitch are approaching this. I want to hear it too, because I've got some SPACs. I didn't want to own SPACs. They got me into it. I own the SPCX, the ETF. I own PSTH. I've got one more, SVAC. I'm getting creamed out here. So, got to figure that out right now. I maybe creamed is an exaggeration, a little bit of exaggeration, but yeah, it's not looking good, guys. It's not looking good. PSTH. Why did I not sell that? Why? Let me bring up my PSTH. Why did I not sell? What an idiot! I'm so dumb. Look at this. Let me pull up it daily. All right, SPAX Attack is up next. Mitch Hotch, Chris Kachi at 11:15. The CEO, the president of App Harvest, ticker APPH, will be on the stream in about 15 minutes. Again, we're doing different streams on YouTube, one long stream on Twitter and Periscope. So you can find the all-day stream there. I'm going to transition off of this stream now, give those guys a little bit of time to get started, and we'll have SPAX Attack at 11. Let me make sure they're good to go before I do anything. Are they good to go? I think they're good to go. Yeah. SPAX Attack at 11 o'clock. In 2 minutes from now, the link should be in chat, but of course it's not. So let me put the link in there for you all to get there really easily, because we want to make it easier for you guys. There is the link posted in chat just now. I'm going to pin it to the top so you all see it. And, oops, sorry about that. And that's going to be a wrap for me, guys. So stay tuned. SPAX Attack at 11, Power Hour at noon. We got a lot more to come today, and I'm going to sign off for a while. And hopefully when I see you next, we'll be green across the board in the major indices, but we are still down in the Russell, and Bitcoin's getting smacked in the mouth. All right.
Bye.